Tonight's species can be found on reefs, around markers, and on structure. It can also be caught in traps, cast nets, and on sabikis. Tonight, it's all about the bait here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
This is the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we hope you had a fun and safe Memorial Day weekend full of catching. But Rick, hello. Nice colors you got going on.
Same to
Summer
you.
is creeping up on us, and the fishing is only getting better. But all great fishing begins with the bait.
Absolutely. You know, one of Mike Holliday's favorite things is sleep late, use bait.
There you go. I'm all about that. All right, well, I know our CCA workbench wonder, Dave Farrell, will have something to say on the subject. So, Dave, give us a sneak peek of your workbench.
He didn't do that the last time. He made us get up early and go get bait.
He did.
Yeah, made us get up early because you have to go get the bait.
Well, maybe
So,
that was late to
to
him.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I don't know. You have to have bait, though.
Gotta have
That's
bait.
the bottom line.
And Dave's got bait.
That's right.
You and Dave weren't paying customers. You had to go.
That's right.
Normally they go catch the bait and then they come back with the bait wells full and the customer gets to ride the glory train right on out to the inlet.
No glory train for us.
No.
No.
But it's okay.
It's fine. All right, we're throwing our cast nets into the R&R Tackle Southeast region where bait is thicker than thick. So Captain Jimbo, tell us how good it really is.
Okay, Brie, and hello, Rick and Dave. You know, the Southeast region is a bait catcher's paradise, and I guess that's why the fishing's so good down here in the Southeast region. Now, Captain Ray Rocher and R&R Tackle, they've made a science out of catching and keeping bait alive. He's got a line of sabikis, D-hookers, bait tubes, and cages, and that's what we all use down here in the Southeast region. Now, we prefer to sabiki our baits first, cast netting them, because they'll definitely stay livelier and last longer, the sabiki caught one. Now, generally, a block of chum is used to attract the bait, and depending on what kind of bait shows up, we use the appropriate size R&R sabiki, which is anywhere from a number 4 to a number 7. Now, threadfin herrings, goggle eyes, sardines, pilchards, and cigar minnows are some of the most common baits. They can be found around the numerous bait patches, channel markers, and grass patches throughout the region. Now, you want to try and avoid handling those baits by using an R&R de-hooker to get those baits quickly into the live well. And most of the time, the bait bites best on the outgoing tide or when the water isn't super clear. About the only time that we throw the cast net on the bait is when we find pilchards or if the ballyhoo come up in the chum. And with a big live well with good water flow, properly handled baits, they could be kept for days or even weeks while they await their big day to be sent out there under the kite. Now we got a lot of bait. Let's go out and catch some snook. The catch and release snook fishing has been heating up throughout the region. The snook have been starting to school up in the ocean inlets to spawn. All of the inlets have been good, but the inlets from Boca north to Palm Beach Inlet, those historically hold the most fish. Live herrings, pilchards, pinfish, and croakers drifted and bounced along the bottom using a jig head or Jupiter rig on the outgoing tide has been getting the bites. They're also being caught throughout the day, but the evenings have been the best. Be sure to use circle hooks with those live baits since this is definitely a catch and release fishery right now. Now moving offshore, the blackfin tuna bite has been excellent in the past week. There's been a lot of blackfins up to 30 pounds, and they've been hitting live baits in anywhere from 100 to 200 feet of water. Now, if there's enough wind, try putting up the kite. Otherwise, you can drift or flatline those live baits. The tunas have been biting throughout the region, but Miami Beach south to Fowey Light has been a pretty hot area. Now, but anywhere that you can find some blue water in North Current, that's a good place to look for these tunas. We've been using pin 750 spin fishers loaded with 20-pound tests, 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders, and we've been hooking our herrings, sardines, and goggle eyes to a 4.0 or 5.0 circle hook, and that's been our tuna killers the last couple of weeks. Now, I got a photo here. I had a great group of guys out from Pine Island, which is over on the West Coast. This is Bernie Land with a 32.5-pound blackfin that we caught off Key Biscayne, and that's the biggest one that we've caught this season.
That's a big
one.
Now,
in the same areas as the tunas, there's been steady kingfish bite in the past week. There haven't been many huge ones, but there's been plenty of them in the 10 to 15-pound range. Live herrings, pilchards, and sardines have been getting the bites under the kite or on the drift. There's also been a few caught on the troll using a pink sea witch and a bonita strip behind a planer, or a 3.5 drone spoon behind that planer has also been working. There's also been an occasional sail and dolphin mixed in those same areas. And I got another photo, and this is Pine Island's Mike Jaskowitz with a nice mahi that we caught along the edge.
Nice. All right, Jimbo, thank you for the pictures, man. I really enjoyed that big tuna. It made my mouth water. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what are we smoking. Southeast hotspots inshore. Jimbo says fish any of the inlets with live and artificial baits for evening snook and tarpon. And then offshore, look for a mixed bag of blackfin tunas, kingfish sails, and mahi. Fish with live baits or troll in 100 to 300 feet of water.
You hungry?
I'm hungry.
You found it. All right, we're all about the bait in the STARTRON Central West region, so let's hear from Captain Jeffrey Page on what our weekend might look like. Hey, Page.
Our weekend looks pretty good, and there's never a shortage of bait in our region, provided, there's not red tide everywhere, which, knock on wood, there hasn't been. It's been really clean, and there's been more bait than ever this year. Probably the number one way we get bait in our region is with a cast net, and the two popular size meshes are 1/4 and 3/8. If you want to throw for bigger things like mullet or big shads, which some people call bunker or menhaden, then you want maybe use an 1.5 inch, 2 inch mesh. But the 1/4 to 3/8 will get it done. Another thing that we do a lot is we'll put traps out for pinfish and smaller crabs, and then also long-handled dip nets in the current on the outgoing tide. You can do that from a dock if you're lucky enough to have a dock in that kind of current, or you can do it with your boat. Another great opportunity for the Rodan spot lock to come in very handy. Then we also have a couple guys on the water that sell bait from a big bait barge at the mouth of the Manatee River, and his name is Matt Bauer, 941 Bait. And then I've got another place in Sarasota. It's a landmark where they sell shrimp, snacks, cold drinks, frozen baits, and then some tackle, not a lot. It's called Hart's Landing, and that's right there at the foot of the Ringling Causeway. Couple photos tonight. Tie right in with that. I've got a couple photos of separate size shrimp in the tanks at Hart's Landing, and then there's a picture of the tanks at Hart Landing. And then my last one is my man who we always try and help out. He does a really good job, and you can always count on him to be there by the DeSoto Monument. 941 Bait, big bait barge with a houseboat. Snook fishing, Rick's been really good as I've seen it, like I said last week. And they're on the points of all the oyster bars on the outgoing tide down south in Bull and Turtle Bay, and it's been pretty quiet because everyone's out tarpon fishing on the beach. Up to the north, Terracea and Palmasola, and then moving offshore, the red snapper, being June 2nd, a couple of guys have gotten out there and done their limit, no problem. That includes tight lines, Captain Rob Roberts and Chris Seeger. They've got their limits yesterday, and a lot of guys have been doing real well. 110 feet of water on out, smaller hard bottom areas and ledges. And they're using live pinfish and frozen sardines. Standard bottom rigs will get it done. I got a really nice red snapper photo from Offshore Ventures with Captain Tim No. And then my last species, which just opened June 1st, gag grouper. And guys are really doing well offshore on them in that same 110 feet on out. But inshore, they have been doing well in the ship's channel at the Skyway. And my picture tonight is of Captain Josh Rippin' Lips Pruner with a nice gag that he got right near the ship channel, really right near the Manatee River.
So, Paige, I got a couple questions for you, being that we got a minute and a half left in your report. Hey, why don't you tell me a little bit about the Jaywalker 120 in the pilchard color? That was part of your snook report. I don't know what happened. You might have lost where you were doing. And then also why you like the stick shad so well, that chrome stick shad in the 110 that Berkeley makes. Tell me why you like these lures so much, bub.
All right. The chrome stick shad has so much weight behind it, you can throw it a long way, and as long as the sun's out and the water's clear, you can pick that thing up flashing a long way out. And then the Jaywalker 120 in the pilchard pattern, it's matching the hatch, Rick, and another thing it does, it throws a long way just like that big stick shad. so you're able to cover some ground and attract those fish up from deeper water. I'm talking a lot of times in 4 to 6 feet of water with those baits.
So how do you like to work them?
I like that with the Seville. I like to keep my rods hip high, but let that bait get below the surface, and then the Jaywalker, just the standard clickety-clack down the railroad track.
All right, man. Walking the dog. That's what he likes to do there, guys. That's our guy, Central West Regional Captain from the STARTRON region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots. Captain Page says that inshore tarpon, beach fishing remains strong with early morning groups of fish, perfect for throwing crabs or flies at them. Lots of schools moving during the day, and then offshore red snappers with opening day of snapper season. The fish are biting 110 feet of water on out. Live pinfish is your best bait. What do you think, Brie?
I think those are some great questions.
Well, thank you.
And he can bring his snook report to our event coming up June 23rd, coming out to South Siesta Key Daiquiri Deck in Sarasota from 6 to 8 p.m. and hang with Rick, Jeff Page, and myself for some fish stories. What are we smoking? Fish dip and frozen drink specials, which will be what?
Jose Cuervo.
Oh, Jose Cuervo.
So if you like tequila, you need to come see us.
And daiquiris probably too,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah, daiquiris. Can you make daiquiris with?
You can. They
thought it was like a rum
they
thing.
have a Jose Margarita daiquiri something thing. I don't know what all that is.
Margarita daiquiri?
I know nothing about bartending whatsoever.
Margarita Sexalata on the beach. Isn't that a song? That's a song, isn't it? Tim McGraw? No, never mind. They'll probably
McGraw.
know. Yeah.
They'll know.
They'll know. All right, the Real Legends Central
Seems
East
like you
region is coming up next. But first, Dave has some explaining to do over at the CCA workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques. You got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, we got all kinds of bait. Rick's going to show us his favorite way to hook a crab and a shrimp, and maybe we got some shiners and stuff to work with.
He didn't tell me I was going
We're going to
to
have some
work
fun
today.
bait time.
Oh, shoot. Well, I think hooking a crab comes just natural to you.
Hi, crab.
I get crabby with it every once in a while.
All the time. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy, innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques. And Dave, you didn't tell me I was going to have to work over here tonight. What's this hooking
Are you going to have
crabs?
to? Well,
That's what you
we'll
said.
do that in a minute. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, just, if we have time,
Okay.
you can hook a crab. But there's nothing better than using a live bait. As far as productivity goes. I mean, it's a lot more challenging, and it's quite a bit of fun to fool a fish with an artificial bait, and you get a little bit more of a pride, sometimes when you're doing that sort of thing. But I tell you what, when the push comes to shove and it's time to catch one, you can't beat a live bait. Because when you're feeding them something that they're used to eating every day, that's going to be in your favor. So, we got several ways of catching live baits. You heard the captains talk about some of them. Using a cast net is a great way to catch bait. You can catch a whole lot of bait at once. If you're in the right spot and you find them, you can throw the net one time and fill up a well full of 300 baits. It's got a few cons though. Can ding up the bait pretty good.
Knock the
scales off. Bust them up a little. They get their heads halfway through, and you end up, strangling half of them. Yeah, they're all bouncing around the deck.
Yeah.
So the bait can get beat up a little bit. Not only that, you can bring in a lot of trash. If you're throwing a bait inshore, there's a lot of stuff on the bottom that you can bring into the boat. So it's a good way to catch bait. But there are other ways. A sabiki rig is probably one of the best ways. Ray Rocher, we talked about him a lot. This fellow, he makes his living taking care of bait. He has charter boats, and those charter boats, go out and catch fish, and they catch a lot more fish than a lot of other people because their baits are perfect. Ray knows how to take care of his baits. So, and he made all these because he wanted to go out and catch baits, and now he's made them for us. And people think sabikis are all the same, but they're not, you know.
Good point. I'm glad you're going down this
Yeah,
road.
they're not the same. So, you know, the good thing about these, you know, they have incredibly strong main branches and side branches. You know, they're from the smallest ones. He's got 10-pound main branch and a 6-pound on his branches off. This one's, you know, has got a little bit more. You can go up a little bit.
This one's 8 and 13.
8 and 13. And it goes all the way up to the big tunas where you got a 40-pound or 50-pound main branch and 30-pound branches for the baits. So, and they all come with little different colors. You know, you got little green heads and red heads for different baits. Ray firmly believes that some baits like reds and some baits like greens, and that it can change, you know. So,
and the reason why he does one sabiki like this, Dave, to where you have 4 reds and 4 greens, is because when you pull up to a marker or you
don't know
pull
what's
up
down
to
there.
a little bait patch, you don't know if there's sardines, cigar minnows, or herring on there.
Right.
And certain baits like certain colors. He noticed that by watching a commercial fisherman years and years ago. That guy was catching 5 to his 1, and he asked the guy after a little time, and he found out that the guy was using green to catch all his herring, and he was using red to catch other species. I think it was sardines or cigar minnows were the red ones. But, so he created a whole sabiki mess with that, you know?
Well, when you're using a sabiki rig and you're catching even our little gold hooks, the best thing to do is not to handle the baits much at all. You know, you want to use a de-hooker, either a little wrist one there or you know, that one's you can put on your wrist and forget about it, or you can use one of the other ones here. All the sabikis that Ray makes has a little designation on there for the de-hooker to use as well. It'll has on there, you know, use the small, use the medium, use the large, because that de-hooker wire is made to fit the hook.
Right.
You know, when it comes down to that hook, if the wire is too big, you can end up damaging the bait. And that's the last thing we want to do if we're catching these bait, is damaging them in any way. As a matter of fact, even Ray makes these nets, these wet nets that, you know, some of them have a clear bottom. That keeps the baits from spooking. He'll put that in and they can see through that net so they're not swimming away from the net. They use one to transfer the baits. Not only that, once he gets them into the net, it keeps water in there.
And so this knocking the scale, not knocking
correct.
the scales
It keeps them, you know, keeps them nice. And, you know, this is really nice. He even makes one for the trout guys out there who want to release a big rainbow trout. Same principle as to make sure that the bait is lively and not damaged.
Well, what about cooking a crab, Dave?
Well, you know, we got these crab. Yeah, I got 2 different things here as well. I wanted to show you. I got a bucket with a bubbler on it, and I've got an insulated cooler. Now, a bucket's great for a daytime thing. You know, if you want to buy a dozen shrimp, you can probably keep them alive in here for a long time. But if you're getting bait fish like pilchards or sardines or something like that, if you're not using a live well on your boat, you're going to have a cooler. The cooler you can keep your bait and the water that they're in, the more oxygen is in the water and the friskier the bait are. And you want those things to catch us. If I can catch that crab.
Plus those fish, the colder the water, guys, remember this, their metabolism and everything slows down.
Correct.
Their heart rate slows down.
They're not peeing in the water and messing up the water as well.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a past crab or something, you fish for a tarpon or whatnot, this is how you would hook it. You would hook it through the corner there.
Yeah.
And then we got shrimps in here. If you'd like to do a shrimp, we got time.
And that's how you would hook a crab.
Probably don't have time, do we?
No, we don't have time.
All right. Well, we'll do these later.
All right.
But
here you go.
Poor fella.
What do you mean, poor fella?
Well,
he's a rock star now.
Yeah.
Just like Brie. Right, Brie?
Yep, just feeling like a rock star over here.
Yeah. Looking good in that purple.
Just like Ray. Ray is a rock star when it comes to bait. He's thought of everything.
Rockstar Ray.
Rockstar Ray. Those are some good tips over there, too.
That's it.
All right, bait comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. So let's see how the Real Legends Central East Region Captain Jim Ross's bait flex. Tell us some secrets, Jim.
Well, I tell you, a lot of people like to use live bait, and I'm included in that. But there's a couple of things that you need to know about dead bait as well. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that in this week's report, because I know pretty much everybody else is going to be talking about live bait. You know, this theme species, or week's theme species of bait, we use a lot of cut baits here in the East Central region. And here's why. Not everybody has the ability to use live bait all the time, nor should they rely on live baits for every fishing situation. Well, let me explain. Dead baits, especially fresh dead baits, can be very effective in some cases, even more effective than live baits. One example of this is when targeting our big bull redfish in the shallows of the Indian River or Mosquito Lagoon. A fresh chunk of ladyfish, pinfish, mullet, or even a part of a blue crab is a really good option to use when you're targeting these old, wary fish that are accustomed to seeing every trick in the book. And so a piece of dead bait laying on the bottom it won't spook them. It doesn't scare them. They just swim along. They go, oh, look, a nice fresh piece of something to pick up. And they do. The other thing is this, when you're not running a bait well pump, the fish will come close enough to your boat that you can get cast to them. When you are running a bait well pump, they know the sound of that bait well pump and they'll stay well away from your boat. So, they'll eat that fresh chunk readily. And, the same thing works offshore. Guys who use fresh grunts, sardines, or cigar minnow plugs to catch the larger fish that oftentimes the live baits don't get because the little fish run up and grab the live baits, but those bigger chunk baits, especially for snapper like mangroves, and they really wait for the little fish to peck at it, and then they go, okay, I'm tired of you guys messing with that thing. I'm coming in and I'm gonna eat it. And that's how savvy anglers that are fishing offshore will use chunk baits to catch the bigger fish versus guys that are just going out there and using live baits and not necessarily getting those bigger fish. Now here's an example. I've got a picture here of a flats fishing red picture. You see how perfectly calm it is. If you turn a bait well on, that far shoreline over there, you'll see a school of fish lift on that far shoreline and start running away from your boat. But if you're sitting in here and you just put some dead bait out, those fish are meandering around and they'll come up and they'll pick up that chunk of dead bait. Now my second species is redfish, speaking of redfish, and Captain Mark Gibson gave me a really nice report this week. Said the inlet fishing up at Ponce was really good. They're hitting maharas, croakers, and pinfish. And if you can get some pilchards at the north and south bridge, they're hitting pilchards pretty good as well. Most of the fish up there are, running in that 40 to 45 inch range. And he says at night you can also use saltwater assassins in the 4 to 5 inch range, or the big jerk shads, and use them up around those mullet schools as they're coming through the inlet and through the bridges, and put them down deep so that they imitate those mullet, and the redfish will hit those as well. Haulover Canal is another great place. And of course, Sebastian is always a good place to look for big redfish. Got a picture here with Captain Mark, and his customer, actually John Gerhold, caught this one at the Ponce Inlet Jetty just this past week. Now swinging offshore, yellowfin tuna action on the eastern side of the Gulf Stream is really good again this week. There's big schools of tuna out there. They're migrating through. You just have to find, where those fish are by finding them on your radar, find those birds, and then get your trolling lures and your plugs out in front of those bird packs. Most of the action is starting at about 73 to 75 miles and going out to about 95 miles from the mainland. And most of our yellowfin are running 30 to 40 pounds, but there's a couple of them up in that 70 and 80 pound range. So just be aware. And there's a few blue marlin out there as well. So don't be surprised if you don't hook a blue marlin out there this week. And my last species is cobia. The reefs and wrecks in 60 to 90 feet are still holding cobia. Anglers are drifting and slow trolling with live baits like pilchards, threadfins, and pogies. And they're usually getting multiple fish to come up off of these structures. A lot of the Real Legends region is typically known as a March-April timeframe for cobia, but May and June have been really good the last 2 years. So don't overlook these fish when you're going offshore, especially when you're going around the Bethel Shoal area out of Sebastian Inlet, the sub wreck, and some of the other wrecks in and around that area, plus the 8A reef out of Canaveral, or the Party Grounds, and some of those other structures that are in that 60 to 90 foot range out of Ponce Inlet. I got a picture here of Captain Justin Ross with one of a few that he caught the other day. There are a lot of undersized fish out there right now, so be careful with your gaff and make sure that you're not gaffing those fish. You want to try and net those fish to get them in the boat if they look like they're even going to be close to the legal size limit.
That's good advice about netting an undersized cobia. That'll keep you in good spirits with the FWC, That's for sure. Thank you so much, Jim. Good job this week, bud. We're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Central East region. Jim says tarpon along the beaches, drift or slow troll live pogies or croakers through the schools of fish working north along the coast, and then offshore, dolphin, trolls, skirted ballyhoos near the rips, temperature breaks, and floating weeds in 180 to 400 foot depths.
All right, Rick, you ready for some news?
Yes, what you got for me?
Okay, the West Marine CCA Florida Star Competition presented by Yamaha began this past Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, and what a start it was. Are you ready?
Yes.
Over the weekend, there were 3 star-tagged redfish recaptured throughout Florida. The first was caught and released in the Panhandle, Wakulla County, but the angler was not registered in Star. Wah, wah. The Brevard County fish was caught by an unregistered angler, and the fish was released. Wah, wah.
Oh.
And the Charlotte County fish was caught by an angler who was registered, however, did not follow all of the Star rules, so the fish is ineligible. Throw your hat down on the floor right now. We're gonna pass out. So this is good news for you. The Contender 22 Sport, Pathfinder 22, or Spider 19FX Vapor Flats boats, all powered by Yamaha, are still available to win.
You know what
Visit
my
the
grandfather
Star
would say,
website
Dave?
at ccaflstar.com to get registered. What would he say, Rick?
What the Sam hell y'all guys doing out there?
Not sure.
Come on, man,
But
get it
obviously-
together. We're trying to give away the world.
The world, literally.
2 little things you got to do.
Yeah.
Register and fill out the stuff correctly. If you're not sure what to do, call the phone number and they will walk you through it. I promise.
Don't let that one go.
Nope.
Nope. All right, the ALTA Equipment Northeast and CASA VIEJA Southwest regions are coming at us next. Plus, we have a great recipe from Chef Michelle Bernstein coming right up on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Stay hooked, stay frisky.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And GARMIN, plot your paradise.
Well, as you guys can see, I have the lovely Michelle Bernstein with me, and you know, the Insider Fishing Report cooking specialist. What are we going to be cooking this week?
I like that title. I want that title right here.
Okay.
Right underneath there. So we're going to be sautéing a piece of snapper. So first we're going to season it with salt and pepper on this side, and we're going to add some black pepper, and then in here I have some good flour. This is Wondra. This is the stuff that gravy makes, right? Gravy flour. So just a shake on there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil to the pan, but not too much, because we're gonna make a sauce in there.
Iron skillet over a traditional other type of pan, why?
To me, you don't get a sear like you get in cast iron. It holds its heat better than anything.
Makes sense. Love
Yeah.
it.
All right. You know, we chefs and our tools.
All right, so got a question for you. Why the slots?
Okay,
You
so
used
I
your knife
score.
to cut that?
Yeah, well, I should have showed everyone. So
That's all
I
right.
score the skin on the fish so that it doesn't curl.
Oh, okay.
I have some lemon. I have a little bit of Italian parsley and some fresh dill, which I am just gonna very roughly chop up, like so.
Nice.
I don't like to cut it anymore because I love that freshness in there.
Right.
And then I've got capers, a little bit of butter. You got anything juicy for me that I can throw in there?
You want some bourbon? How about some 10-cup bourbon?
Heck yeah.
Will that work for you?
Oh, that'll be amazing.
You like the rye?
You see? Okay, that's gonna make us a delicious sauce. All right, hold on to that for 1 minute.
Okay.
We're gonna make a sauce on this after I flip this over. So, do you know what this is called?
A spatula.
What kind?
Yours.
You see the shape? That's made for a fish.
Oh, it looks like a tail.
Yeah,
Look at
so that is a fish spatula. And we, fish specialists, because I consider myself one,
Of course you are.
have to have a fish spatula because nothing gets in there and gets that whole piece better. All right, ready to make sauce?
I'm ready.
Let's do this, mister.
Okay.
All right. How much can I use?
As much as you want. I got bottles everywhere.
Can I use
The shot cup.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
The official 10-cup
Woohoo.
shot glass.
All right, so if y'all use gas at home, be careful.
Right.
I would basically pour and walk away.
Oh, I can smell the 10-cup
Right?
bourbon.
Isn't it
Smells
yummy?
Great.
And bourbon and lemon go beautifully together. So I'm gonna add a little bit more lemon.
Okay.
It needs brininess, right? So I'm gonna add a little bit of caper.
Okay.
All this delicious herb.
Now, capers have a tendency to make things salty.
They do. They're very briny.
Right.
Right. But we have bourbon.
Right.
We have butter.
Right.
We have lemon.
Right.
What are we missing?
I don't know.
Salt.
Oh, got it.
That's it.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you for clearing that up.
You
for me.
got it, man. You got it. All right, so 3 little tiny pieces of butter are gonna tighten that sauce up a little bit. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tilt it our way and just baste it a little bit with a bourbon, lemon, and caper sauce with a little bit of butter in there. And guess what? We're done.
If you guys want to know more about this recipe, you can certainly go to the Florida Insider Fishing Report website, as well as, Michelle, we have restaurants or we have a website that
We
can
have
contact
everything.
you.
We have my catering site is NBCmiami.com, or you can follow me personally on Instagram. There's lots of recipes there, and I'm just at Chef Michi, M-I-C-H-Y.
All right.
You can have a little teeny.
Little
there
bite.
you go. Don't burn yourself.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
All right.
So good.
Yay, we made him happy. That's all I'm here for.
Oh, thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you so much. That is so good. Brie, that was a lot of stuff in 4 minutes. And if you can't
Yeah, it
remember,
was.
people can go to our website as well.
It looked amazing.
Those,
I'm a recipe girl. I
recipe.
need that kind of stuff. There you go. I got you.
Thank you for saving me.
You're welcome.
When I get around Michelle and her good cooking, I just lose my mind.
Yeah, the brininess, the brininess. All right, let's get into some bait talk with Captain Tommy Derringer in the ALTA Equipment Northeast region. Tommy, did you get all that?
Man, that looked good. I did. I feel like I could smell it here. It
Me
looked
too.
Delicious. You guys are lucky.
Yep.
So I'm in my boat garage. All I smell is essence of old shrimp. So that's a much better smell there, I'm sure.
We might be able to, Michelle could probably turn that into some dish though, Tommy.
That's
Essence, and call it
hey,
essence of shrimp. Go ahead.
Right. And, hey, speaking of shrimp, we've got lots of different baits here in the Northeast region. And, our go-to baits year-round are definitely going to be the live shrimp and a mud minnow. That's the inshore stuff, because just about all of our inshore game fish eat one or the other. Now, either of those live baits paired with a simple 1/4 ounce jig head or a fish finder rig, that's something I use on my boat pretty much every single day. Now, there's so many different baits to talk about on the offshore side of things, but right now, frozen sardines or cigar minnows, they're going to get a lot of use for the bottom fishing, for grouper and snapper. And then also, of course, the guys that are trolling, they're using the ballyhoo as always. Now, as we head into the summer months, the one bait that will get a lot of attention in my region is the menhaden, better known as pogies in my region. Now, I always try to make a point to fill the live well with some of those pogies if I'm going to be fishing anywhere off the beach or offshore, or even around the inlets or inshore. Now, the pogies are really a versatile bait. You can fish them on the bottom, up top, you can troll them. They also make for some awesome cut bait, both inshore and offshore. The kingfish, the tarpon, the sharks, they're all going to be feeding on those guys big time in the surf all summer long and even into the fall. And there's always some great action around those big pods of pogies. Now, switching to the inshore side of things, the finger mullet, they've been getting thicker by the day, and all of our inshore species are going to be on the hunt for those little mullets. Now, live finger mullet, it's hard to beat this time of year, but you know what? Cut mullet, it's also a great bait for redfish throughout the summer months. Redfish love that stinky piece of cut mullet next to an oyster bar. And if you're fishing inshore the next couple of months, don't forget your cast net, because having some mullet in the live well is going to come in very handy. Now, speaking of redfish, we've had a good redfish bite this week throughout the region. The redfish are in the flats, or the redfish in the flats and the creeks, they've been eating finger mullet, like I mentioned before. But you know what? The topwater bite has also been firing up. I've been getting a lot of fish on that Berkeley Jaywalker 120. It's been great for us. And it's a summer staple for us here in the Northeast region. That topwater bite at first and last light can be very productive and a lot of fun throughout all of our summer months. Now, we have a low tide early and then late this weekend. And although I don't really like tossing a topwater in super shallow water, it's a great tide to try the deeper edges of the ICW with one of those plugs. Look for large concentrations of mullet and just work those areas. Now, on the other side of red fishing, the bull reds are something we can target also through the summer. And I spoke to Captain AJ Grubbs, and he's been on some big bull redfish over the last couple of weeks. He's been fishing the bridges and the St. Augustine Inlet around the slack tides with both live and cut mullet on the bottom. Now, guys, make sure when you're targeting those monster redfish, handle them with care. Make sure to take time to properly revive them and make sure they swim off nice and healthy. Now, speaking of monsters, I've got a picture here. Captain AJ Grubbs sent me this pic of his clients, Michael and Kelly Smith, with a really pretty bull red that they caught with them near St. Augustine Inlet. Now, moving offshore, you know, although the mahi bite seems to be tapering off a bit, they're still out there in pretty good numbers this week. After talking to a few of our offshore captains, they tell me if you're looking to get into some good fish, you need to get on it now while they're still around. Probably not going to be that much time to get on them. The mahi, they're still averaging big size right now. You know, most of those fish are going to be caught around weed lines and tide lines. Most of the guys are pulling small ballyhoo with a variety of chuggers and bubblers. And I've got another picture here. Amy Kennelly sent me this awesome picture of an absolutely lit up mahi that she caught east of Jacksonville. How about the colors on that fish, guys? That's awesome.
So beautiful. Looking good, man. All right, dude, what else you got?
The groupers, man. The groupers have been chewing over the last couple of weeks. I have seen some Hoss-sized gags come into the dock. There's a few of our offshore captains that really have that grouper bite dialed in. Captain Jimmy Laidler and Captain Adam Jeffrey are two of our grouper whisperers. You know, if you're looking to get on one of those big gag groupers or any of those groupers, give them a call to book a trip. Now's the time. Now, most of the fish are coming from about 150 foot and deeper on the smaller structures, and they're eating large dead baits like those whole Boston mackerels, as well as any kind of large live bait. Just make sure to bring some serious tackle because there are some really big fish out there. And speaking of big ones, I've got one last pick to end the report here. Captain Adam Jeffrey sent me this with his client with a couple of huge gag groupers that he caught from this past week. Those guys are slaying those big fish.
I love the size of those big gags. Thank you so much, Tommy. Great
Bye,
pictures
Tommy.
this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone. Hotspots from the Northeast region. He says inshore redfish and trout on topwater plugs at first and last light along the edges of the ICW. Target the schools of mullet along the drop-off and the shell bars, and then offshore guys, a mixed bag of mahis, tunas, sails, and wahoo just inside of the ledge.
That sounds good to me. All right, the Casa Vieja Southwest region is ready to give up the weekend fish cast along with some bait tips. So Captain Ronnie Houston, give us all you got.
Well, like always, Rick and Brie, it's always a pleasure being here. You know, before I get into my report, on the southwest coast of Florida, please keep an eye on some weather that may be approaching off the coast of Mexico. We are supposed to get a lot of rain and some winds, so before you get out this weekend, keep an eye on the weather. So here we are in June. The wintertime fronts are over, as we've talked about for years. You know, generally late fall and winter, especially with the cooler water temps, most of the time you're going to use shrimp, dead or alive, is going to be your best bait, along with cut baits. That's generally both inshore and offshore. But as we're into late spring and summer, your live bait should be abundant throughout the entire region. Now, the terrain changes the further you go up a little bit north, so there's a couple different ways for looking at these, for looking for the baits. For the people to the south, Wiggins Pass all the way down to Lossman's River, you want to concentrate on looking for these pilchards on your beaches, your passes, your blowdowns, and some of the general grassy areas. But as far as the thread fins, they generally tend to hang out a little further out, which would be probably your wrecks, your head pins, and generally traveling in some deeper water in big schools. Now, as we get to the north, Estero Beta Stump Pass, there's generally more an abundance of grass. The water's a lot cleaner up there right now. This is where it's easy to try to find the bait, is where you can chum up plenty of pilchards and an abundance of pinfish that's in those grass flats right now. You will also see big schools of herring, generally further off the shorelines or out towards the middle of the intercoastal, maybe the middle of Pine Island Sound, or out in the middle of Charlotte Harbor. You'll see them thread fins, or you'll find them off the beaches, wrecks, and head pins. So the thread fins generally tend to hang out a little bit further. And I got a picture of a nice snook that was just recently caught in the last couple of days with Captain Derek Daffin down in the South Everglades. Those fish were caught. That fish was caught on pilchards. Now, still inshore, the snook. The bite is really heating up right now along the beaches from Wiggins Pass south around Key. Now, your high tides right now, if we have moderate winds along the beaches. Even though the water's really clear, You know, there's no need for a boat. The water's still clear, but the fish are a little bit spooky. But all these rains we're starting to get right now, and that front that might be coming through, could change things to turn these fish on for an artificial bite. The outgoing tidal on the passes and blowdowns, your outer Gulf islands and points. Also on your mid-tides, you want to concentrate before the water gets too high for them to get into the mangroves. Now, the artificials work well, like the Berkeley cane walker. You always hear me talking about the jay walker, but I like the Berkeley cane walker because the cut nose, and generally on a little heavier windy days, throwing on the points, that lure seems to work well for me. The gold and silver spoons, white chartreuse bucktails, or root beer colored soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails. Right now, the darker paddle tails due to the clean water, and obviously your live pilchards and thread fins chummed up. And once you chum them up, fish aren't sitting by the tree you want. Let them drift down the bank. Those snook will show you where they're at with those live baits. And I got a prime example. The fish caught up by Marco by Blaine Anderson, Ison. There's a really nice snook recently caught. The offshore side, the rig groupers, Goodland to Wigan Pass, fishing hard bottom according to Captain Mike Avenel. You want to concentrate on the bait stack. Now, he's telling me in the last week, the stronger parts of the tide, fish seem to be more aggressive. Still fishing a little further out now, 110 to 140. But for the bigger fish, your stronger tides are going to be the deal. Your cut herring, squid, and sardines have been working well. But if the tide starts slowing down, if they stop eating the cut baits, always have a variety. There's some live pinfish and cigar minnows. That will help trigger a bite. Try to have some live baits handling, especially on those slower tides where cut baits may not be working well. There's a nice grouper that was just recently caught while fishing with Capt Mike. Getting out of the same general area, but changing baits and doing a little bit different is going to be your African pompanos. Gordon's Pass at Fort Myers Beach, strictly concentrating on wrecks and smaller areas of hard bottom, 110 foot and beyond. Now, you're going to be chumming, and you're going to be using different baits like live shrimp or cut shrimp. Some of these areas you can still catch the groupers, but the African pompano is still to be keyed in on those shrimps. But numbers of fish seem to be holding better along the wrecks right now, especially if you're just strictly targeting the African pompanos. I got a nice picture of an African pompano just caught in the last couple of days by Captain Mike Avenon. Weather's been nice all week. Keep an eye on it for the weekend. Weather should get better after the storm passes through.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the southwest region. He says inshore, redfish, Estero Bay, late in the afternoon, incoming to the top of the tide along the east wall, and then independent islands using live pinfish pilchards along those mangroves, and then offshore, permit Wiggins Pass to Stump Pass, fishing wrecks as close as 5 miles, but out as far as 25 miles using live crabs.
All right, well, celebrating its 40th year, the Key West Marlin Tournament featuring $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes is planned for July 20th through July 23rd at Stock Island Marina Village in Key West. In addition to spectacular fishing and prizes, the event features nightly festivities, including cocktail parties, dinners, and an awards banquet. Entries are limited to 75 boats, so get registered now at keywestmarlin.com. All right, the Fish Bites East region is taking over next, but first, Dave is taking over at the CCA workbench for Taco Marine New Products. Dave, you're looking pretty
I feel like a
blendy
fish
over there.
wizard. I feel like a wizard.
You're the
That's
wizard.
not going to get burned by any sun or lights in the studio.
The wizard of the workbench.
Exactly.
Love
Wizard
it.
of the workbench. I knew Brie wasn't going to let that go.
I can't. I need new material.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by ALTA Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and you know what? It's time to the Taco Marine new product section, Troll the Edge. We're talking about bait tonight over here in the rigs and techniques. Dave,
That's a big build-up.
What do we got?
We got the Fenwick HMG inshore. HMG stands for high modulus graphite. It's graphite blank. Fenwick makes really nice rods, and this is one of their nicer ones. It's a premium grade cork handles, AAA. They got a carbon bound blank So it's a spiral wrap as well. So, there's no one place where it's stronger than another. It's got, it's completely strong all the way through. That's a 7.6 medium light action there. Fast action as well. It's got medium light, fast action. So it's a medium light rod with a really fast tip.
Right.
And 1/16 ounce and up to a 5/8 ounce, and 6 to 12 pounds of mono or 8 to 15 pounds of braid.
Great rod for throwing a small jig to bonefish.
Correct.
Or, something technical up on the flats in skinny water.
FinwickFishing.com. Got the nice
Absolutely.
Fuji guides on there as well.
Yeah, man.
So. Next, we got some really cool baits from Bass Assassin. We got the Sea Shad 4-inch with the electric shiner. I really like that color. I just got it. I've already caught quite a few bass on it in my other baits.
So sexy.
Purple and black with the gold and the gold flecks in the belly. It's a great little paddle tail bait. Great search bait. Put it on a jig head and just let her roll.
It's like translucent.
Yeah,
So,
there you go. That's a good word for
really
it.
cool color.
Translucent.
What's the other color we got there?
Well,
by Bass
in that
Assassin?
5-inch shad down there, we got the Watermelon Magic, which is also another new color.
And also,
some people think watermelon.
Very
I always think
translucent.
red, but watermelon is
got
green.
Brie's hair on it. Bree,
Yeah.
what have you been over here in the new products? Holy moly.
That's it's got a nice belly hot slick in it, the 5 slot in it. It's got a 5-inch bait. Really good bait for a good profile, large profile bait. Catches everything. It says saltwater assassin, but it catches everything in fresh and saltwater.
You know what I love is how they take the time to make sure that all of these baits are perfectly laid into the package.
Yep,
so
they
that
do.
You don't have any
So
curly
your tails
tails.
are really nice and
Yep.
straight.
All right. Speaking of straight tail,
we got the Gator guard, the hitch guard. It's called the Gator guard. It's for your trailer hitch back there. Full 360-degree impact protection between you and your trailer hitch. I don't know if you've ever hit your shin or your knee on a trailer hitch. I have many times, and I would do anything to keep that from happening again. So you need to get one of those. Prevents those injuries that you're going to have right before you go out on the boat or when you're trying to put it up. It's easy to install. It comes in that black color or a glow-in-the-dark one for the night, which is usually when I run into it at night. It stays nice and soft in all conditions. You just use that big zip tie there to put it on. Still good for your ball, 2 to 3 inch ball, and fits most hitches. So, last but not least, we've got these Red Rum clothing. That's the performance long sleeve hood with face mask in it. It's the same one I'm wearing right here. This is the gray. That's the white. These are got contours in them there, like the bottom contour machine, on your map there.
Vents
really,
on the side.
really cool looking. It hides all the stains and whatnot that I would throw on there. Usually good for that. This is a UPF 50. It's got the face guard. It's laser cut. All those little holes in there. Really nice hood. It's got nice side vents as well. See these nice side vents here? So
I like it.
Yeah, and a really cool thing. It's got the the ruler sleeve on there.
That's cool.
A 20-inch ruler sleeve. You can make a very quick estimation on how big your fish is.
Yeah, your bonefish or
Yeah.
redfish. Or
They
your
also
trout.
make these really cool Conch Republic hats with a nice sweatband inside. If you're going to be using a hat like this to go fishing with, it's always nice to have a nice sweatband in there.
Built-in sweatband.
Yeah.
Take me back to when I used to be
They got
running.
a curved bill and a flat bill. They say this is the ladies' one and this is a male nut. I think either one's fine.
Unisex.
Yep. So go to redruminternational.com.
Okay.
I need that hitch guard too.
You do?
Yeah, they better make them for dishwashers. Dishwashers and hitches.
Oh man, my dishwasher gets me too.
All right, there's
I
a
can
lot.
make that rhyme with something else.
Yes, you can, but you won't.
Nope, that's
There's
cool.
a lot of pluses when it comes to catching your own bait in the Fish Bites East region. Captain Mike Holliday's favorite reason is that he can sleep late. Hi,
That's
Mike.
it. Sleep late if you use bait. Or is it live bait, dead brain? Can't remember which one it is. So we have a lot of bait options in my region. Inshore, you can throw a cast net along the shorelines. You can throw it around the bridges. You can catch everything from pilchards, threadfins, and bunker to pinfish, sand perch, and mullet. If the ocean's calm, you can run the beaches and look for those threadfin, pilchard, and sardine schools, and either throw a net on them. I like to throw a half-inch net on the beach and a 1/4-inch net on the inside. I throw a calusa net. I'm just kind of used to throwing those 10-foot calusas. or you can sabiki the bait up with a number 6 or number 8 R&R sabiki rig. The real key with sabiki rigs, particularly in the deeper water, is to use enough weight. You want to use 2 or 3 ounces of lead, and that will keep the hook baits from spinning up and tangling your sabiki rig, which is usually the biggest problem you have with when you're catching bait, is getting those rigs tangled. Those bait fish will also congregate offshore around habitat like the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, the Church Rubble off Jupiter, the Shark Barge off Stewart, and the 14A, 12A, and 10A buoys off Fort Pierce. Those are all good places to get bait. And the bait pops up on the surface right around dawn, seems to stay up all day. The windy days, maybe not as much. I got a good photo there. That's a cast net full of pilchards that I dusted with a 10-foot 5/16 inch Calusa cast net. And then let's talk about the other bite going on. June is when the tarpon migrate out of the Keys and up the East Coast. They stop in the inlets and move inside to become part of the resident summer populations just up and down the coast. So this entire month is a good time to run the beaches looking for migrating schools. When you find them, you want to get in front of the fish, wait for them to come to you. Then you can pitch everything from, dark flies early in the morning, bright flies middle of the day, to live thread fins, live pilchards. Live crabs are my favorite because the crab can't get out of the way of the fish like a bait fish can. And you can do pretty well on those fish. Now, those same schools will stage up in the inlets at night to feed. On the outgoing tide, you can float a live mullet out the inlet on 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, 7R trocar circle hook. And also on the inside, we have tarpon in the areas like the Crossroads around Stewart, Harbor Ridge up in the St. Lucie River, Big Mud Creek in the Indian River. Average tarpon region is going to be like 50 to 100 pounds.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Well, there's still pretty decent dolphin bite going on in our region. It's not big numbers or as many big fish as we saw in May, but if you take the time to cover water, you can find some good fish. The bite's scattered, particularly on the days that we get the west winds. So the best thing to do is to cover as much water as possible. Look for areas that typically hold fish like weed lines, rips, any floating objects. Watch for frigate birds. You just want to start looking for good dolphin cover as soon as you hit about 80 feet of water, and then work your way as far east as you feel comfortable. And for bait, really, if you want to cover the most water, pull feathers or a bonita strip and skirt combination. But you can also troll, rig, ballyhoo, or mullet and cover a lot of water. And this is also a really good time of year to bring some binoculars in the boat and stop every mile or so and scan the water in every direction for floating debris. If you can find a floating log or pallet or raft, you can do really well. Average dolphin right now is about 8 to 20 pounds, but there was a 40-pounder caught yesterday. So there are still some big fish around. I have a photo. That's Captain Butch Constable of Jupiter led his clients to that dolphin. They caught that fish in 300 feet of water on a live sardine.
Nice.
The other offshore bite we got going, the area is flooded with kingfish, particularly throughout Palm Beach County waters where there's a lot of good fish out on the reef off Jupiter and then all the way down to Mar-a-Lago. The best bites in anywhere from 80 to 150 feet of water. If you want to catch those big smokers, you want to put out a big bait like a goggle eye or blue runner or a small bluefish if you can find one. On the west wind days, the kings are in on the beach. So places like the Kingfish Hole off Hope Sound and the Vero Cove, both those areas are getting fish. You just want to throw a big mullet out there, double hooked with a number 4 wire stinger rig, and you'll do well. Also, don't overlook the bait schools that are in close to the beach on those west wind days. They get a lot of kings on them as well. Offshore, you want to also maybe drift with a monofilament triple hook Palm Beach rig and either a live or dead sardine. Average kingfish right now is 15 to 30 pounds. I got a photo there. That's Brian Scott with a nice king he caught off the beach. He found that around a bait school, and he was using a R&R titanium wire rig with a live sardine to get that fish.
All right, quickly on the bass, bud. Give us your report.
Yeah. So the cooler mornings this week have fired up the bass bite around the Kissimmee grass and peppergrass beds in the Harris chain. Lake Harris, Lake Dora, Lake Griffin have all been producing good numbers of school bass at dawn, with the guys throwing spinnerbaits, white logger toads, or any of the shad-colored Bass Assassin Vapor shads. Pick a color, doesn't really matter. They're working great right now. The key is to hit the school fish at dawn and find the moving water. With all the rain we've got coming this weekend, that should be around all the canals. Then throw either Vapor shad or a chrome and blue lipless crankbait. If there's no water moving, get on the edges of the grass and fish a June bug colored fat jug rig, Senko style. Average bass on the Harris chain right now is 1 to 3 pounds.
Mike, you did a good job, man. Appreciate you keeping us updated on the weather. Certainly, we all got Sirius XM. We can always monitor which way those clouds and storms are moving and if they have any lightning in them. The T&H Marine East hotspots, he says, inshore, triple tail on the buoys and the markers between Jensen Beach and South Bridge Causeway, live shrimp on a saltwater assassin quick cork, and then offshore, dolphin, blackfin tunas, kingfish, and 120 to 180 feet of water off of the Breakers Hotel, live sardines and pilchards or threadfins is gonna work. So much for those.
All right, Floridians, coming up, we're casting into the GARMIN Panhandle and Keys region, so stay rigged and ready. And if you would like to be a part of our live studio audience coming up June 8th for our dolphin show and for June 22nd for our kids show, you can go sign up at our website, FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. It's gonna be a fun time. So excited, can't wait.
Children running everywhere.
Oh no, I was talking about the dolphin show. I have children now. Yeah.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by STARTRON. Start, run, and store with STARTRON. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And YANMAR ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
All right, let's start practicing making those pancakes and cast into the GARMIN Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen. Let's go, Pat.
Hey, Brie, I tell you what, we're either talking about inshore baits or offshore baits. And you can either cast net them, trap them, catch them with hook and line, or buy them. And for the inshore baits like pilchards and menhaden, a cast net is critical. And it's best to have at least a couple with different mesh sizes. A minimum 8-foot with a 10-foot net preferred. Any smaller than an 8-footer is going to be pretty much ineffective unless the water is really shallow. A 3/8 inch mesh for most baits like croakers, pinfish, small mullet, and the larger menhaden. But if you start looking at those smaller baits like little pilchards or herrings or menhadens that you're using for trout fishing, a 1/4 inch mesh is the way to go. That 3/8 inch mesh is going to gill a bunch of those baits, and you're going to have a Christmas tree, basically a cast net full of gilled baits. It's a pain to clean out. You're going to find the baits on the grass outside bayou mouths. Chumming will really help bring the pilchards to you. The menhadens are usually up in the bayous, especially those with some freshwater inflow. And then Gulf side, sabiki rigs for cigar minnows, herrings, and blue runners are pretty much the standard practice. Pretty much every boat you see stationed up outside the inlets in the morning, there's sabiki fishing for bait, and people constantly go, what are all those boats doing? Because it looks like a parade. So catching that live bait is important. 3 to 4 ounce leads on your sabikis, and keep a tight line to avoid tangles. If you get some slack in it, especially if you're hardtail fishing, you're going to end up with a mess on your sabiki. It's going to be tied up in a knot. Don't immediately wind in once you get a bait on. Stay tight, slowly retrieve, and let that hook bait do the work for you and jiggle all those other hooks. Try to load up those other hooks. It's best to catch your bait 3 or 4 at a time than one at a time. Another option is buying live bait from your on-the-water bait shop. I know there's some guys in Panama City selling bait every morning at the inlet, and out here in Destin we have the live bait guys every morning selling cigar minnows and herrings. And there's a photo of an early morning bait transfer with Destin live bait. Basically pull up, talk to them on the radio, pull up slowly, tell them what you want, retrieve the net, dump it, put your money in the net, and ease on and let the next guy come on in.
Sounds
and then
cool.
Staying inshore, the speckled trout fish in the bays remains really consistent. Captain Jonathan Goodhart out of Destin reports a good bite outside the bayou mouths in Choctawhatchee Bay. He's chumming up with pilchards. He throws a net on. He chums for pilchards, throws a net on, and then uses the pilchards as live chum to get the trout fired up. Either free line your bait or fish them under a cork. Another option is casting lures over the grass and in the bayou mouths. Subsurface baits like a Berkeley cutter when you're in 3 to 4 foot of water. In the deeper holes, a bass assassin paddle tail on a 1/4 ounce jig head works real well. And there's a photo of Todd Funk from Illinois fishing this past week in Choctawhatchee Bay. Speckled trout he caught using a Berkeley cutter fishing over spotty grass bottom. So that's been really consistent, Rick. Inshore's been good.
Looks good.
Moving offshore, A good grade of king mackerel are being caught throughout the panhandle. And again, live bait is best, primarily cigar minnows and herring. So back to the sabikis, get your bait, and then fish them around the buoy line outside the pass. And if you're not catching your kings right there, move offshore. Fish over bottom structure like live rock and artificial reefs. Use a stinger rig with wire. Fish a couple baits on top and 1 or 2 deep behind a planer or behind a downrigger. And if you're bottom fishing, snappers just open up for federal boats and also gag groupers. So if you're out there bottom bumping, be sure to free line a bait. Kings are running 15 to 20 pounds. And then finally offshore, just mentioned gag groupers. They're being found on Gulf bottom structure, and the season for them opens June 1st. And they're not catching the gags way out in that super deep water either. There's quite a few of them in state water, 60 to 80 feet of water. Fish a live or butterfly bait on the bottom with a slip sinker rig. Pinfish, ruby red lips, grunts all make good live baits, but a bonita strip, a dead octopus, a butterfly Boston mackerel also make really good dead baits for the gags. And it's critical to get your fish off the bottom as soon as you hook up. So a heavy drag and plenty of pressure. The gag groupers are running 8 to 20 pounds.
All right, Pat, thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says that the king mackerel, by trolling live cigar minnows and herring over the bottom structure and around the buoy lines, and then offshore, try those triple tail in Apalachicola Bay using live shrimp under a cork.
All right, Rick, the options are endless in the YANMAR ASV Keys region when it comes to bait. So let's get Captain Sarah Stanzik on the line and see what we'll be catching with all that bait this weekend. Go for it, Sarah.
Hey, everyone, here from the YANMAR ASV Keys region. We have tons of bait down here in the Keys. It's very diverse. We catch many different types of bait, both inshore and offshore. Some types of bait we throw cast nets at, like pilchards and ballyhoo, while other types that we catch on, like sabiki hooks, like goggle eyes. There's also many frozen and cup bait options people use in the Keys, like squid, silver sides, and don't forget live bait options like live shrimp and crab can all be purchased locally from marinas and bait shops. And you can even buy like live mullet fresh off the mullet boat from the commercial guys that catch them as well. So many bait options, big variety, depending on what you want to fish for. Definitely having good live bait can either make you or break you, so it's an important part of having a good day of fishing. One of the best ways you can learn more about catching your own bait is to simply book a charter. Watch how your captains, your mates, or guides on those charter boats catch their bait. They're pros at it. They do it every morning. Before your fishing adventure even begins, they're going to catch bait. So it's good to book a guide and see how they do it.
That's good advice.
And moving inshore, we got triple tail, which is one of my favorite fish to catch. They're really fun because you can sight fish for them, you cast at them, which is obviously my favorite type of fishing. They're really goofy looking, like prehistoric. They have hard scales and they're tough to fillet, but definitely in my top 3 favorite fish to eat. We'll catch them like around the commercial buoy traps when the traps are in the water during their season, in the bay and in the Gulf, or they can even be seen drifting around the bay and the channels, more like in the park. You can cast at them that way. They kind of just drift around and you'll see them and cast at them. Live shrimp is probably their favorite bait. You just have to cast near enough that they can see it but not land on top of them because they get spooked easy. So it's kind of a little challenging to be able to get your casts right. Here's a picture of a nice stud triple tail caught by, well, Captain Rick Stanzik Jr. and Captain Richard Stanzik Sr. is in this picture, so everyone.
Yep, there they are, the big dogs. All right, man, what else you got for us? Let's go offshore now.
Offshore, we got mahi. They're starting to show up better and better. It's been hit or miss, though. One day's great, the next day's slow. It just depends. So, if you have a crappy day, go out again the next day and try again. But they'll eat anything from live pilchards to dead piece of squid or artificial bait. They can just be moody. Sometimes there'll be dolphins swimming all around your boat, and they won't eat anything, or they'll only eat something live. So just best to have everything available bait-wise if you do go out to target the mahi. Look for birds diving down on the bait or weed lines and debris floating. We actually had Captain Wes and the Shallow Sport family over from Texas, and we took them out mahi fishing the other day. Here's a photo of all of us with our nice little catch of mahi.
Oh, you brought a little Texas to the Florida Keys. Love it. All right,
Yep,
tell us
they
about...
know how to catch fish.
Yeah, they do. Let's talk about some yellowtail snappers.
Snapper fishing's been good on the reef. Lots of nice sized fish being caught. Anchor your boat in 60 to 90 feet of water. Use lots of chum. It's good to use oats and sand too. Off the back of your boat, chum a lot. Look for good water movement. Fluorocarbon leader is a must. A small jig head with a small piece of cut-up bait like shrimp or ballyhoo. Or a big yellowtail will happily eat a live pilchard too. Definitely got to be patient. Sometimes you'll sit there and chum for an hour before you even get a bite, so just wait it out. They're really fun fish to catch on like spinning gear, like the Penn Battle Reel. Here's a picture from our head boat at the marina, the Miss Alamorada, and they had a cooler full of yellowtail last week. I just want to mention too, while we're talking about head boats, they're all up and down the Keys, party boats, and they're a great way to spend a reasonable amount of money to go fishing that's not, you know, if you're by yourself too, you're going to spend less than $100 to get out on the water and fish on average. So shouting out our head boat situation
Sarah,
here.
I got a question for you. You know, Wes and Kyra, his wife, from Shallow Sport Boats, which is the Florida Keys hotspot for your region. What else did they catch? Did they just fish with you the one day and caught the mahis?
Yeah, we actually had a great day. We just, that was mahi we caught that day. We also caught blackfin tuna that day, and then we deep dropped and we caught a bunch of tile fish that day too, and a snowy grouper. So all you saw was the mahi picture, but we filled up the cooler on that boat and had a fish fry that night.
Well, looks like you and Nick are on fire. Congratulations. They're great people to work with. I'm really happy that they're a sponsor of the Shallow Sport Boats hotspots from the Florida Keys region, and keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Inshore, snook have been biting in the backcountry. Live pilchards are best for bait, and you'll want to target snook on structure like down trees, creeks, and mangrove islands. And then offshore, the mahi. They are becoming more numerous as we get closer to summer. Look for the weed lines and the birds diving down or debris floating, and have good variety of baits available, right? Brie?
Debris. All right. You get one.
You debris.
I know.
You debris.
Okay, good clarification there. You're calling me trash. All right, now let's take a look at some tournaments in the Florida Keys. First up is the Skipper's Dolphin Tournament, headquartered at the namesake Skipper's Dockside Restaurant, which offers cash prizes of over $60,000, including a first place prize of $20,000. Next, more than $35,000 in cash and prizes is up for grabs in this long-running tournament, including a cool $20,000 to the angler who catches the largest dolphin weighing over 50 pounds. And then proceeds from this exclusive challenge benefit the Don Hawley Foundation, designed to assist Florida Keys inshore fishing guides during times of need. For our last tournament, cash and prizes are awarded to first through third place finishers, and for the largest dolphin caught in this tournament of female angler teams. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com.
And that was a lot to read.
Yeah, it was, but I got it. All right, we're looking into the bait situation over in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region. Up next on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, we will be right back. Right now.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today's power pole tip of the week is about the many different ways that you can mount your power pole. Now, I often get asked, hey, Captain Rick, how do we install this? Well, it's real simple, guys. All makes and models come with a standard bracket. It's designed to drill 4 holes in the transom, and then you through bolt the power pole through the transom itself. Now, we also have a variety of different brackets that are designed for different applications. This particular one is called the adapter plate for jack plates. Now, I like this because, one, it angles out my power poles like this. Plus, I also have the ability during the installation to have adjustments up and down, as well as adjust the tips in and out. The other thing that's very, very common is the engine mount. That simply uses the bolts from the engine, and then we have these wings that come off just like you see here, giving you a great angle like you have with the jack plate adapter. Now, the other thing that we also use is the deck mount for those guys that have pontoons. So that actually bolts to the top. So keep in mind, there's many different ways to mount your power pole, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
Loving that Captain Morgan stance. All right, there's a lot that goes into deciphering what bait to use for which species, along with lots of other variables. So let's see if our Discover Crystal River Northwest Region Captain, Jeff Hageman, can point us in the right direction. Go for it, Hag.
As you guys know, catching bait is one of probably the most important ways to start your day. Having the right bait to target the species you're after. There's plenty of bait fish in my region. Shrimp, pinfish, pigfish, scaled sardines, threadfin herring, Spanish sardines, mullet, pinfish are all very common in my region. These baits have their own challenges to get your day started. Local bait shops carry some of them. Cast nets are really popular in my region, and it's probably the most popular way to catch sardines. There are some bait barges you can buy them from, but being able to throw a cast net certainly gets you out there quicker. 8 to 12 foot net, 3/8 is probably one of the most common nets in our area to throw. It'll catch most of the bait most of the time. Some of the baits are smaller, and you will gill them in that. So a 1/4-inch mesh is also necessary in the summer months when you get those small hatches of small baits. But you can catch them over the grass flats, bridges, piers. Chumming them up with Purina tropical fish food really helps get them condensed, and you can throw your net on them. A little practice in the backyard is always good if you're not familiar with throwing a cast net. A little practice in the backyard will get you catching bait out there pretty quick. Also, pigfish, pinfish can be caught in traps, deeper grass flats, or on hook and line. Pass crabs for tarpon and permit can be caught in the passes just with a dip net on the outgoing tides on the full and new moons. In the summer months, and moving on inshore, Captain John with JB Charters out of Apalachicola reports a good redfish bite right now. It's been really good, mainly been fishing the shallow grass flats and oyster bars on the incoming tide. He's using popping corks and fresh dead shrimp. And I've got a photo here of 2 beautiful redfish from Captain John.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us, bub?
Moving offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports the red snapper bite, and recreational snapper bite opens up the 17th. For hire opens up June 1st, with tons of them being caught in 130 to 170 feet of water. The bite has been consistent on squid with a bottom rig, using 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 6 to 8 circle hook. 6 to 8 ounces of lead has been working best, and I've got a beautiful American red snapper photo from Captain Rob.
Nice. What else you got this week, Hag?
Gag opened up today, and Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete also reports the gag bite's been really good, and the bite has been in anywhere from 150 to 200 feet of water. He's fishing ledges and super hard bottom, a bottom rig with a 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, an 8-ounce circle hook, and 10 ounces of lead has been working well. He said dead bait's been working better than live bait right now, but don't be afraid to fire that live bait down, because you know they love them too. And I've got a photo here with Captain Rob himself with a beautiful gag.
Hey, Hag, I got a couple questions for you. So the one, I've never really caught, the biggest gag I ever caught was probably about 15 pounds. What would you tell me, what kind of advice would you give me to catch a bigger one?
Deep. A lot of our fishery over here gets hit really hard in that, say, 100 foot to 120 foot. If you get out past 200, you start catching bigger fish. Not saying they don't move in, because they do definitely move in shallower, but those bigger fish we generally catch out to 400 feet of water. And that's something a lot of boats don't get out and do. So fish deep, use big baits and big gear.
All right.
50 wides when we're fishing those big gags, and 200-pound leader, and using really big Boston mackerel, the biggest we can get, or a really big bait to drop down there, and they'll weed out those little guys.
All right, man, that's perfect answer. Thank you so much. I'm going to go take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. Hag says snook around the beaches and passes, use pinfish or sardines on the outgoing tide. And then offshore, mangrove snappas on the high relief structure in 30 to 70 feet of water. Use cut sardines on a knocker rig. Knock them in the head.
Knock them down. All right, we've been schooled on the single most important thing that will have you catching instead of just fishing. So go out there and put that knowledge to use, but not before you hear what we're fishing for next week. So stay hooked, because I'm so excited. Can't wait. Next week, we're talking dolphin, and I can't even talk about it because I'm so excited. We also have a live studio audience, so this girl is going to be on fire. But this week is this special man's birthday. He is turning 60.
He's turning 6.
Gotcha!
Wow.
The horn's not there anymore, but pretend it is.
Your horn's broke?
Yep, it is.
How can that be possible?
Happy birthday, Rick. I hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you
wherever
guys
you're
so
going.
much. I never
made it
thought
to
I would
60.
make it to 60. Oh my
He made
goodness.
it to 60. Now, Butcher.
But pretty
I
soon
never
I'll
thought
be
you would.
starting to collect Social Security. That's scary.
Oh.
And you know what else is scary? Is my children will be in charge of my Social Security and yours. That's what scares me.
But your candles.
I'm not counting on it.
Make a
Thanks
wish.
for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week
that
for
hook
some
in your
dolphin
nose.
action. He's gonna go party up.
Look at it. There I am, Ricky Dicky, right there on
Bye.
top of the bundt cake. Can a man get a knife?